The Order of Knights of the Hospital of St. John of Jerusalem, also known as the Order of St. John, Order of Hospitallers, Knights Hospitaller, or Hospitallers, was the name of the medieval Catholic military order that preceded the contemporary sovereign military order of Malta, which remains a sovereign subject of international law. It was headquartered variously in the Kingdom of Jerusalem, Rhodes and Malta, until it became known by its current name. The Hospitallers probably arose as a group of individuals associated with an Amalfitan hospital in the Muristan district of Jerusalem, dedicated to John the Baptist and founded around 1023 by Gerard Thom to provide care for sick, poor or injured pilgrims coming to the Holy Land. Some scholars, however, consider that the Amalfitan order and hospital were different from Gerard Thom's order and its hospital. After the conquest of Jerusalem in 1099 during the First Crusade, the organization became a religious and military order under its own papal charter, charged with the care and defense of the Holy Land. Following the conquest of the Holy Land by Islamic forces, the Knights operated from Rhodes, over which they were sovereign, and later from Malta, where they administered a vassal state under the Spanish Viceroy of Sicily. The Hospitallers were the smallest group ever to colonize parts of the Americas. At one point in the mid-17th century, they acquired 4 Caribbean islands, which they turned over to the French and Dutch in the 1660s. The Knights were weakened in the Protestant Reformation, when rich commanderies of the order in northern Germany and the Netherlands became Protestant and largely separated from the Roman Catholic main-stem, remaining separate to this day. The order was disestablished in England, Denmark, Sweden and elsewhere in northern Europe, and it was further damaged by Napoleon's capture of Malta in 1798, following which it became dispersed throughout Europe and Russia. It regained strength during the early 19th century as it redirected itself toward religious and humanitarian causes. In 1834, the order, by this time known as the Sovereign Military Order of Malta, acquired new headquarters in Rome, where it has since been based. 5 contemporary, state-recognized chivalric orders which claim modern inheritance of the Hospitaller tradition all assert that the Sovereign Military Order of Malta is the original order, and that 4 non-Roman Catholic orders stem from the same root. Protestant orders exist in Germany, the Netherlands and Sweden, and a non-denominational British Revival has its headquarters in the United Kingdom with branches throughout the Commonwealth. Foundation and early history. In 603, Pope Gregory I commissioned the Revenate Abbot Probus, who was previously Gregory's emissary at the Lombard court, to build a hospital in Jerusalem to treat and care for Christian pilgrims to the Holy Land. In 800, Emperor Charlemagne enlarged Probus's hospital and added a library to it. About 200 years later, in 1005, Caliph al-Hakim by Amr Allah destroyed the hospital and 3,000 other buildings in Jerusalem. In 1023, merchants from Amalfi and Salerno in Italy were given permission by the Caliph Ali Arizona Zahir of Egypt to rebuild the hospital in Jerusalem. The hospital, which was built on the site of the monastery of St. John the Baptist, took in Christian pilgrims traveling to visit the Christian holy sites. It was served by the Order of St. Benedict. The monastic Hospitaller order was founded following the First Crusade by Gerard Thom, whose role as founder was confirmed by the papal bull Pi Postulatio Voluntatis issued by Pope Pascal II in 1113. Gerard acquired territory and revenues for his order throughout the Kingdom of Jerusalem and beyond. Under his successor, Raymond Puy de Provence, the original hospice was expanded to an infirmary near the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Initially the group cared for pilgrims in Jerusalem, but the order soon extended to providing pilgrims with an armed escort, which soon grew into a substantial force. Thus the Order of St. John imperceptibly became military without losing its eleemosynary character. Raymond Dupuy, who succeeded Gerard as master of the hospital in 1118, organized a militia from the order's members, dividing the order into three ranks: knights, men-at-arms, and chaplains. Raymond offered the service of his armed troops to Baldwin, and the order from this time participated in the Crusades as a military order, in particular distinguishing itself in the Siege of Ascalon of 1153. In 1130, Pope Innocent II gave the order its coat of arms, a silver cross in a field of blue. The Hospitallers and the Knights Templar became the most formidable military orders in the Holy Land. Frederick Barbarossa, the Holy Roman Emperor, pledged his protection to the Knights of St. John in a charter of privileges granted in 1185. The statutes of Roger de Moulins deal only with the service of the sick. The first mention of military service is in the statutes of the 9th Grand Master, Fernando Afonso of Portugal. In the latter, a marked distinction is made between secular knights, externs to the order, who served only for a time, and the professed knights, attached to the order by a perpetual vow, and who alone enjoyed the same spiritual privileges as the other religious. The order numbered three distinct classes of membership: the military brothers, the brothers infirmarians, and the brothers chaplains, to whom was entrusted the divine service. In 1248, Pope Innocent IV approved a standard military dress for the Hospitallers to be worn during battle. Instead of a closed cape over their armor, they wore a red surcoat with a white cross emblazoned on it. Many of the more substantial Christian fortifications in the Holy Land were built by the Templars and the Hospitallers. At the height of the Kingdom of Jerusalem, the Hospitallers held 7 great forts and 140 other estates in the area. The two largest of these, the bases of power in the kingdom and in the Principality of Antioch, were the Crac des Chevaliers and Margat in Syria. The property of the order was divided into priories, subdivided into bailiwicks, which in turn were divided into commanderies. As early as the late 12th century, the order had begun to achieve recognition in the Kingdom of England and Duchy of Normandy. As a result, buildings such as St. John's, Jerusalem, and the Knight's Gate, Quenington in England were built on land donated to the order by local nobility. An Irish house was established at Kilmainham, near Dublin, and the Irish prior was usually a key figure in Irish public life. Knights of Cyprus and Rhodes. After the fall of the Kingdom of Jerusalem in 1291, the knights were confined to the county of Tripoli, and when Acre was captured in 1291, the order sought refuge in the Kingdom of Cyprus. Finding themselves becoming enmeshed in Cypriot politics, the master, Guillaume de Villaret, created a plan of acquiring their own temporal domain, selecting Rhodes to be the new home, part of the Byzantine Empire. His successor, Falx de Villaret, executed the plan, and on the 15th of August 1309, after over 2 years of campaigning, the island of Rhodes surrendered to the knights. They also gained control of a number of neighboring islands and the Anatolian port of Halicarnassus and the island of Castellarizo. Pope Clement V dissolved the Hospitallers' rival order, the Knights Templar, in 1312 with a series of papal bulls, including the Ad Providum bull that turned over much of the property to the Hospitallers. The holdings were organized into 8 tongues, or langs, one each in Crown of Aragon, Auvergne, Crown of Castile, Kingdom of England, France, Holy Roman Empire, Italy and Provence. Each was administered by prior, or, if there was more than one priory in the lang, by a grand prior. At Rhodes, and later Malta, the resident knights of each lang were headed by a bailey. The English grand prior at the time was Philip de Thame, who acquired the estates allocated to the English lang from 1330 to 1358. In 1334, the Knights of Rhodes defeated Andronicus and his Turkish auxiliaries. In the 14th century, there were several other battles in which they fought. On Rhodes, the Hospitallers, by then also referred to as the Knights of Rhodes, were forced to become a more militarized force, fighting especially with the Barbary pirates. They withstood two invasions in the 15th century, one by the Sultan of Egypt in 1444 and another by the Ottoman Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror in 1480 who, after capturing Constantinople and defeating the Byzantine Empire in 1453, made the Knights a priority target. In 1494 they created a stronghold on the peninsula of Halicarnassus. They used pieces of the partially destroyed the mausoleum at Halicarnassus, one of the seven wonders of the ancient world, to strengthen the rampart, the Petronium. In 1522, an entirely new sort of force arrived. 400 ships under the command of Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent delivered 100,000 men to the island. Against this force the knights, under Grand Master Philippe Villiers de l'Isle Adam, had about 7,000 men-at-arms and the fortifications. The siege lasted 6 months, at the end of which the surviving defeated Hospitallers were allowed to withdraw to Sicily. Despite the defeat, both Christians and Muslims seem to have regarded the conduct of Villiers de l'Isle Adam as extremely valiant, and the Grand Master was proclaimed a defender of the faith by Pope Adrian VI.